Uh, Greetings. I really didn't want to make another negative video. Well, it's not really a rant this time around. It's more of I want to just keep it a civil discussion, because if I'm super ranty and angry in this video, people are going to be like, oh no, he's just hating on the game. No. Before we get into anything, the biggest problem I have currently is the game is actually fun. But as you can see, there's no gameplay footage that I could put up because I'm not allowed to play the game for more than 15 minutes because, I can't even call it a crash. It's more like the softest closing of a program that you can imagine. It literally just is Control-Alt-Delete. That's literally what happens. It's like the softest shutdown you can imagine. It's not even a crash. And the funny thing is, there is no error message, and there obviously isn't a dump message because, my PC isn't crashing. The game just softly, quietly closes itself after about 15 minutes of play. No hang up, no freezing even. It's just an immediate bloop, gone. That's it. And yeah, I've been at it for like 3 days trying to, get this error removed. Been reading through various forums and tried pretty much all of the solutions. There's a new solution pretty much every hour that appears, from undervolting the CPU to undervolting the GPU to going into the power state management to going into the fucking registry editor to prevent the graphics card from being idle for too long, to, going into the BIOS settings and the XMP settings, turning those off, to tuning specific in-game graphics settings, trying DLSS on and off, upgrading or downgrading the graphics driver to like the minimum allowed graphics driver because Battlefield forces you to be on a certain patch version. If you're NVIDIA, for example, you're not allowed to use like one of the older stable patches. You're supposed to be on like a minimum patch level. So you go through the different, versions of drivers there and, test these out. And then going through all of the anti-cheat settings, reinstalling the anti-cheat, trying out if maybe there's like some sort of anti-tamper system in Windows that's interacting with the anti-cheat in a bad way, turning all of that off, doing all sorts of virus scan exceptions for the Battlefield exe in the anti-cheat exe file, doing all of that shit for like 3 days on repeat. Well, with sleep in between, obviously, but nothing helps, and I'm just sitting here feeling like fucking Squidward, looking at all of my mates having fun playing the game, and that's the thing. That's the biggest thing, that's the reason why I'm so disappointed in this, why it's happening yet again. I don't know if I'm cursed with this currently, but it's like the second time a new release has performed this badly for me. I know, you shouldn't buy video games on day one. I don't know why I didn't stick to my principles. Maybe I shouldn't listen to my Discord mates and just, I've tried it 2 times now, 2 strikes, you're out, this is the last time I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna wait for 75% sale or fuck off basically at this point, because I don't think you should put up as a customer with this stuff. I mean, comment in the comment section below if you think this is fine to just sit there day one, literally just not being able to play, you can't figure out what it is, and I'm a little bit more tech literate than other people, so what is somebody going to do without any kind of knowledge about their device? I'm not even complaining that I have to do a little bit of fiddling on my PC, because you're always taking that responsibility. You're on PC, it's a little bit more difficult to make a game for a PC than it is for a console, although I don't like that argument all too much, but I agree that a certain level of tinkering is required. When a new video game releases, there's usually a few settings that you can tweak, but when we're at the point where I'm contemplating exchanging components to see if it works on a different graphics card or a different CPU, or like going into BIOS territory, I think we went a little bit too far. And I think no customer should put up with this at any point in time, and especially not if the components are so, like, it's so expensive nowadays to have like a good gaming PC, and then if you take into account the prices of video games today as well, and then the day one experience is like that, again, if the game would have been bad, that would have not been a big of an issue. Like, I would have not have even talked about this. Bad game and performance issues on day one basically means I'm refunding immediately. I'm very careful not to go over the 2-hour limit. But, Battlefield 6 is actually fun, It's, don't let me lie, it's the first EA game that I've bought since, I think, Mass Effect 3 on the Origin launcher back then, yeah? So I haven't touched a Battlefield game in ages, right? And I know there's Battlefield puritans out there who argue that we'll never get a, classic Battlefield game again. DICE can't do it. It's like modern video games, yada, yada, yada. It's all shit, we don't care. It's like a Call of Duty clone, blah, blah, blah. I get that argument, but to me, after taking a break from any kind of modern military shooter for so long, I thought to myself, Battlefield 6 looks promising. And all of the betas that I participated in worked well. I haven't changed my system since the last beta test, so I don't know what changed on DICE's side. I don't know what they did, but I'm just completely barred from playing the game, which is unfortunate because I would have absolutely given the game a glowing positive review if I would be allowed to play the game, Now, I don't know, man. Like, at least from the perspective of customer advocacy, being pro-consumer, I don't know. I would probably urge you to put off purchasing the game a little bit more and wait for an official fix. At least I'm not alone with this issue. There's tons and tons and tons of people. And the good thing is, DICE has at least acknowledged the issue. I'm still wondering how this still happens on day one. Well, I know what people in the comments are going to say. You shouldn't be surprised that this happens. It's modern video games we're talking about. But guys, I've been so careful what I consume for years and years and years. I've never bought day one for a long ass time. I've always waited for like sometimes up to 3 years to buy a product, making sure that if I get that game, it at least has like 3 years of a patch history, But I would have never expected it to be this bad. Like, this is my first experience, or my first true experience with like a quote-unquote day one. And again, if this game was free to play, I wouldn't even be complaining. I would be like, well, I'm not losing any money on this. I'm just gonna wait until they fix it. It's like a free-to-play game. Of course, there's like launch issues. I don't mind. It's like it doesn't cost me any money. But $70. I mean, pipe up in the comments. Give me your opinion. Is that okay? As a customer of a product, $70, and then it doesn't work on day one, and you're just sitting there and you need to wait after trying to honestly fix the issue yourself. You're just sitting there and, well, that's it. I don't think that's acceptable as a customer, as like in any field. I mean, you're really, really in a bad situation nowadays with Steam and video games in general. Like, you have to be careful not to exceed the 2-hour playtime. And then, let's just say, worst case scenario, DICE doesn't manage to fix the issue for 2 weeks. That would mean that people who have owned the game for 2 weeks and haven't hit the refund button in that time, they now have to kind of go over to Steam on all of their on their knees and be like, please, Steam, refund, please. I mean, it's likely going to work at that point. Granted, you're still under the 2-hour playtime, yeah, but I think this is not acceptable. It's just kind of, it's so fucked being in like current year with gaming, and you just have to put up with this shit as somebody who puts down $70 on day one. Yeah, I get it. Just don't purchase things on day one, I guess. That's the lesson to be learned from this. But yeah, I don't know, man. The hoops that you have to go through to even play this game, all of the security exceptions for the anti-cheat, and then all of the possible BIOS fixes. Obviously, if you're on Windows 11, secure boot is likely turned on, blah, blah, blah. That's not really an issue, but it's so weird. This is like the only game that gave me like an informational warning about my NVIDIA patch and was like, you're not allowed to play this game unless you're on this patch level. And then the kernel level anti-cheat is also kind of icky, bleh. I don't like that shit. And it's likely probably even the anti-cheat that's causing the issues with a lot of people. Again, the amount of solutions that are currently present, that are working, not working, partially working, maybe working, that should tell you that nobody has really figured out what the true issue is currently. and it's kind of up to DICE to fix this. At this point, if it's a trivial issue, usually people figure it out, and then it gets replicated all over the internet, and people then apply the fix, and then eventually the video game company itself patches something that makes the fix itself irrelevant, you know? Let's say turning off certain graphic settings, like turning off DLSS, for example, might help, which in my case, it didn't help, unfortunately. You know, that's something that can be fixed in a patch later, but it's a workaround, you know, there's usually a workaround if it's a trivial issue. This currently there seems to be no workaround for this problem, or at least the fixes that people have applied work 50-50. It's 50% of the time the fixes work, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and then 3 hours later the same people appear in the thread on the Steam forums, and they just basically say, well, I tried that fix, worked for 3 hours, then I was crashing. Like, the weirdest thing is that people have been playing for 2 days and then apparently they're starting to crash now. You know, you have like 2 days uninterrupted experience, and then on day 3 you get the same crash that I'm experiencing, and then I just get the crash. Like, the only thing that's currently very, very reliable about the game is the exact 15-minute crash. It's not really a crash, the game just closes itself after 15 minutes. That's all that happens, you know. But, you know, the performance is good, the gameplay is fun, I'm having fun for the 50 minutes that I'm going to, you know, allowed to play. And, you know, there's no performance issues, the game feels great, has great sound design, you know, Battlefield Frostbite engine's usually pretty good, you know. The only problem is I'm just not allowed to play it due to such a what to me almost seems like a meaningless, trivial issue, you know. And the fact that there's no error message anywhere, the only thing that I could send into EA is my DXDiag log, you know, which I couldn't see anything suspicious in. But that's about all I could send in, because I legitimately don't have an event log error message. And since I don't have a PC crash, I don't have a dump file as well. So I have literally nothing I can do. I'm just kind of fucked currently. And I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this without it coming across as being like another I hate video games rant. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like, I genuinely like Battlefield 6. And after such a long time of not playing Battlefield or any modern military shooter, finally, you know, you finally pull the trigger after participating in the betas and getting all of that positive feedback and a lot of the community arguing that, yeah, this game is looking promising. And then that happens on release. It kind of puts a huge dampener on your fun level, you know. I'm patient in this case. I have the copium, let's say. I have the hope that DICE manages to fix this issue, but it's still really unfortunate. I think if it was like a different development studio that already had a really bad reputation, this would have been an entirely different video. This would have been like a full-on rant with a recommendation to refund the thing. But I'm gonna keep this game for a while now. I don't think I'll refund anything here. I'm just gonna be hopeful and patient. But I think, and again, tell me if you have a different opinion, I think we shouldn't be putting up with this stuff. I would argue from a consumer perspective that if you have the same issue that I have and you're not as, you know, I guess if you don't have exposable income, you should probably refund the game. Now, the problem is, you know, what are you going to do? You're refunding, and then are you buying the game later when it's working? And then are you going to refund again if it still isn't working? What are you, you know, what are you realistically going to do in this situation, you know? You're kind of really, you know, fucked in that situation as somebody who's playing modern video games. You have really no options besides, you know, making that wager. Do I refund now and buy the game later? Or do I just keep it on the hard drive and possibly, you know, have, you know, my refund options are then locked if it's more than 3 weeks or so. It's, I don't know, man. It's really, really fucking disappointing. It's current video games, man, like, modern video game moment, I guess. I don't know, man. Don't buy modern video games on day one, I guess. I have learned my lesson for today. It is the second time. Once you've burned yourself twice, you should probably not put your hand on the hot stove anymore, which is what I'm going to do, which is what I usually always did in the past. But since I bought that fucking monster PC, maybe I got overconfident and thought to myself, you know what? that beast is going to pretty much run any game, but then fucking Battlefield's anti-cheat goes in there and goes, no, you ain't playing this game, buddy. I don't know what's actually happening here, you know. I'm just completely out of ideas. If you are having the same problem as we can all cope together in the comment section maybe and wait until a fix is applied, you know. Or maybe you have some sort of genius idea as well that nobody else had before. Write that in the comments and I might try it out too. But at this point, I just think I'm gonna be patient and wait until hopefully the issue is resolved. The ball is in DICE's corner for now, and I hope they don't fuck it up. It would be really, really unfortunate if this is not resolved in the next few days, and this is like just one of the many, many modern video games that just have these insanely unfixable progression stopping bugs and issues that make them unable, you know, just make them unplayable. That would really, really suck, because then I would probably obviously have to completely issue a do not buy this and try and get a refund in the end as well, which is really not something I want to do with this one. Like, it's like one of the few things that I was hopeful for this year, and I just kind of feel let down. I mean, you know, the picture with Squidward sitting in there looking outside and everyone else having fun that's an apt metaphor what's going on right now. But I mean, it's not like I have a library of other games that I can go to, which I will do. And yeah, hopefully a fix is out there soon. Unfortunate that we still have to go through this as customers in the year 2025 of our Lord Jesus Christ. And yeah, see you next time, maybe, hopefully, perhaps with a Battlefield 6 video. Funny Battlefield 6 video, hopefully.